2023 and ask. Better. Let's start over. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the Rock County Board of Supervisors to order on this 14th day of December 2023 and ask Supervisor Towns to read the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow. Heavenly Father, we come together tonight for a purpose to provide services to those who may need them. In our discussion and actions, help us to be gracious and merciful to those who don't agree with us, just as you've shown grace and mercy to us, even when we rejected you. At this time of year, we especially remember who we are and why, out of great love, you sent a Savior to bring us back to you. Thank you for your unmatched love. And we pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jamie, if you please call the roll.
Beaver. Bobzien.
Here.
Bonkamp. Bryan.
Here.
Clayson. Prairie. Cullen.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Holman.
Here.
Knutson. Levy.
Here.
Mooney.
Here.
Peer.
Present.
Panika.
Here.
Rashkin.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Sutherland.
Here.
Sweeney.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Towns.
Here.
Whitledge.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Winter.
Here.
Woodman.
Here.
Zajac. Zorro.
Here.
Boswick.
Here.
24 present, 5 absent.
Before we go to the next item, Josh would like to explain a thing or two.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are here as a reminder because of the construction going on back in Courtroom H, and next time you're there, it will look quite a bit different, I think, with some new technology that's obvious. In the meantime, we have 4 microphones here today to share amongst all of us. So we'll have this one up here for public comment, and then once the public comment is done, we'll share another one back with you. The way they work, pretty simple. Up is turning it on. If you slide down on the slider there, you'll see it mutes it, turns it off. So make sure that it's on when you want to speak, and make sure you wait to speak until you get the microphone passed to you, so it can be picked up for our friends watching at home. Randy and Sherry will try to be helpful once we get to that portion of the meeting where you are debating things, either passing it down the line to whoever the chair calls on, or Randy and Sherry will come get it from you and take it to the corner if that's quicker. So they'll try to be present and circulating and nearby when we get to that time. So just make sure that if you get called on, you wait till the microphone gets passed to you so that everybody can hear what you have to say.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 4, consent agenda. Item 4A, adoption of agenda. 4B, approval of minutes from November 14th, 2023 and November 16th, 2023. 4C, nominations, appointments, and confirmations. C1 was pulled from the consent agenda. Item D1, recognizing Rhonda Doherty. D2, recognizing Diane Jones. D3, recognizing Jenna Winarski for service to the county. And D4, recognizing Zachary A. Raby. Item E, other. E1, amending the 2023 Human Services Department budget to accepting funding from the Substance Abuse Prevention Treatment Block Grant Supplemental Funds. E2, amending the 2023 Human Services Department budget to accept funding from the Community Mental Health Services Block Grant Supplemental Funds. E3, accepting Advancing a Healthier Wisconsin Endowment Seed Grant Funds and amending the 2024 Rock County Public Health Department budget. E4, accepting Building Environmental Health Capacity Mini Grant to address hazards in small public water systems funds and amending the 2024 Rock County Public Health Department budget. E5, accepting Building Environmental Health Capacity Mini Grant to address housing hazard funds and amending the 2024 Rock County Public Health Department budget. E6, accepting state physical activity and nutrition grant funds and amending the 2024 Rock County Public Health Department budget. E7, authorizing acceptance of the 2024 Highway Safety Grant and amending the Sheriff's Office 2023 budget. That is the end of the consent agenda. We also pulled item 5B, amending 5.0216 of the Rock County Code of Ordinance, Parks, Regulated Intoxicants Prohibited, first reading. That was already covered in the public hearing in the last meeting and will be covered in item 11C. And then we also pulled 11D, authorizing the land transfer between adjoining landowners, Koshkonong Lake Access County Park. That was because they're waiting on additional title work that needs to be completed.
Are there any questions on items on the consent agenda? Any objection to items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, consent agenda passes. Next item, please.
Next item is item 5, public hearing. Public hearing, or the 5A would be amending 4.336 of the Rock County Code of Ordinance, Land Use Management, Airport, and Airport Overlay Zoning District, first reading.
I declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. Anyone wishing to speak, come forward at this time. Declare the public hearing closed. Next item, please.
Next item is item 6, citizen participation, communications, and announcements. We do have 2 people signed up to speak, so when I call your name, just come to the podium and you'll be allowed to speak for 2 minutes. First one is Deborah Kolsey. Yes,
Municipality. Just your municipality.
Deb Colstein, Janesville. So I apologize for any hemming and hawing, but it's been a while since I've done public speaking. But I've been speaking tonight in favor of HealthNet. Anybody that knows me knows that I have a special passion in my heart for it. And I was thinking back, just thinking about speaking tonight. 20 years ago, I wrote a letter to the editor that talked about how important HealthNet is to the community, how it helps the low-wage workers be able to stay healthy enough to be in the community and doing their jobs, how it helps prevent communicable diseases, and that still holds true today. Being on the Board of Health for Rock County, I also know now how important it is that the Public Health Department work with partners, and how that is absolutely the best partner. The financial troubles that are happening now are because maybe they tried to do too much good. You know, they fit in so well with taking care of opiate disorders and mental health disorders. The dental community needs Medicaid providers, and they do that. So I just encourage you to vote for that tonight. HealthNet is vital to our community. It's been vital for many years. It will get back to where it needs to be. In that it is itself is a little bit of a shame, because that probably means they have to cut back on some of the good they do. But I just encourage you all, please vote for that tonight. Thank you.
Next speaker is Sheila Williams.
Regarding the sale of the Lake Ashkenaun Access Park, this has the appearance of a backdoor deal. No public input has been allowed as to whether or not to even sell the park, nor has a vote been taken to sell it. There has not been a fair market valuation to determine a minimum selling price. The appraisal that was used to determine the selling price was hired by the buyer over a year ago. There has been no recent communication with the HOA, which the buyer is the current president. There have been no preliminary discussions with either the town of Fulton, or the village of Fulton, or the Milton Townships regarding this county's plans to sell the park. No other buyers were solicited or allowed to purchase the public land. There are many more homes built now than the outdated map contained in the meeting packet indicates. Homeowners are not aware that the county is selling the park, and some found out about it in the 11th hour via citizen Facebook request or posts. The Parks Committee has met 12 times this year, and there has been no mention of this park up until November, which required a quick approval to enter into sale negotiations with only one buyer. And we do know that there are other interested buyers in purchasing the park property. Fond du Lac County just sold their park in November, one of their parks, through a bid process open to all people. Their appraisals of the fair market value at $160,000, and that was the minimum bid to be accepted. The highest bid came in at $251,000, which is about $100,000 over the minimum bid. Their process was very transparent, and their Parks Committee restricted the sale proceeds to stay in the park's budget and to be used to purchase future parkland. In closing, there has been a lack of transparency in how the sale is being conducted. The park has been held for over 20 years, and I see no justification for this type of a rush sale now. Each of you has a fiduciary duty to act in our best interest, and I suggest that you handle this transaction in a more visible manner. Thank you.
Is there anybody else wanting to speak? Okay.
Any supervisors with communications this evening? Supervisor Zorro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would encourage the board, the Public Works Committee, to have a public hearing on authorizing the land transfer between adjourning landowners Ashkenaun Lake Access Park, and also open up the sale for the general public so that everybody has an opportunity to bid before it comes back on a future agenda. Thank you.
Any other supervisors with communications tonight? Anything from staff? I do have a couple of items here. First off, we do have treats in the back. We'll be taking a recess between items 9 and 10 to go back and indulge. So there's that. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Supervisor Wilson and Facility Manager Sutherland for helping with my church's Gifts Men's Homeless Shelter Stint, which ended last week. They each did an overnight supervision shift, so thank you for that. And the last thing I have is I was saddened to learn of the passing of Jose Carrillo. Some of you may have crossed paths with this wonderful giving man. Jose, before he retired, was a General Motors electrical engineer, and after he retired, he became a mentor in the Janesville School District, focusing on math and science. Also, he was active in UAW Local 95, United Migrant Opportunity Services, Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, Diversity Action Team of Rock County, Rock University High School, State of Wisconsin Prison Industries Board, Janesville Police and Fire Commission, and the Arrowhead Library System Board. I served on the last one, the Arrowhead Library System Board, with Jose for years. Got to know him quite well. Supervisors Wilson and Cullen got to know him too from the same board. Besides being a fixture in community service, he was a kind, compassionate man who would do anything to help his fellow man. You've heard the expression that, oh yeah, he's a nice guy, he'd give you the shirt off his back. Well, that's really figuratively speaking. However, Jose, if you asked him, he would do that. He was that guy. He would give you the shirt off his back. So he will be missed. Details for services are tomorrow morning at St. Patrick's Church here in Janesville. 9:30 till 10:30 is a visitation. 10:30 is the funeral, and there's a luncheon afterwards. So if you're so inclined, you might want to come and pay your respects to Jose Carrillo. Thank you. Next item, please.
All right. Item 7 is nominations, appointments, and confirmation. We have none. Item 8, recognition of county employees or others. We have none. Item 9 is introduction of new resolutions or ordinances by supervisors for referral to the appropriate committee.
Any supervisors wishing to introduce a new resolution, please bring it forward at this time. Any others? Supervisor Holman, if you'd give us a brief description of your proposed resolution.
Okay, I'll just read the top, and that would be good enough then? Okay, recognizing the importance and rights of county employees.
Good enough. We'll hear more about it when it gets to committee as well. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is item 10, reports. We have none.
I went right by between 9 and 10 for treats. So just announce it and forget about it. Great. Anyway, I'll entertain a motion to take a recess. Moved by Supervisor Beaver, second by Supervisor Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, if you want to make your way to the back.
Because my bathroom is well water and I brush my teeth with it.
And they put something on the email to you, the doctor meeting.
Probably not as detriment.
I don't like. Meetings and next time, I'd rather not be listening to members.
We'll talk about it.
You keep saying that.
Yeah, yep.
I'm not the one that's impossible to get a hold of, so don't
You know
start
what,
that.
don't roll, I'll flip a tape here tonight.
I'll throw that red flag.
I will flip a tape.
The red challenge flag, you'll look bad. You'll look bad.
Bring it.
Is everybody back? Ready? Yes? Okay, we're back in session. If you still have a little food in front of you, please carry on. Next item, please.
Next item is 11, new business. 11A, supplementary appropriations and budget changes. 11A1 is providing American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding to Health Net to sustain critical services for Rock County residents.
Moved by Supervisor Mahoney, seconded by Supervisor Tillman. Supervisor Peer.
First of all, I'd like to say from our family, the Board of Health family, and Health Net, I'm sure, very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And it isn't very good, but here's the extent of my Spanish, Feliz Navidad. Well, as you heard earlier, Health Net is a free and charitable clinic that provides medical, behavioral, and dental services to Rock County residents who are uninsured or underinsured. Costs for Health Net to continue providing services have increased at a higher rate than revenue needed to sustain its operations. Cost increases have been due to inflation and expansion of services to meet community needs. Through this resolution, Health Net would be allocated $700,000 in ARPA funding to sustain operations for approximately 6 months. During this time, a long-term financial sustainability plan will be developed. The funding would help ensure access to critical health services for Rock County residents. Health Net would be expected to provide monthly reports to the Board of Health on the use of ARPA funds and its long-term sustainability plan. And at our meeting last week, the Board of Health, we discussed this, and our health officer, Katrina Harwood, felt that the Board of Health could certainly handle that responsibility. And when we voted on it, it was unanimously passed. Thank you.
Comments, questions? Supervisor Levy.
Thank you, Board Chair. Just a question. I don't know if we have individuals from Health Net here so they can answer some questions. I guess my first question is, how did we get here, and why wasn't this known before now? And if we do assess, how long would this last, and how can we prevent getting into this situation again? Because I think it's a worthwhile organization and they do a lot of great things, but I guess I was just shocked when I heard about it that nothing was out there until the 11th hour. So, I mean, I don't know how we got this far without knowing about it or anybody hearing about it. Then how can we prevent this from happening in the future if we decide to assist this evening? So I don't know if there's someone here from...
Carrie Swanson is here from Health Net. If you'd like to come up to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Very good questions. Just so that whoever here probably doesn't know who I am, I'm Carrie Swanson. I used to be the board president at HealthNet. I've been involved with HealthNet since I've been in the community. How I came to the community is I actually built and operated St. Mary's Janesville Hospital till 2017. So I have a very strong background in healthcare. When we decided that HealthNet had a financial issue, I stepped off the board so I can be a non-paying consultant to develop a financial turnaround plan for HealthNet. So how did we get here? You heard that. So we had a capital campaign to build a new building, and that has nothing to do with where we are currently. But what happened when we built a new building and consolidated our services, we began providing services to many more individuals in our community, needy individuals, than we expected that we would get. We opened a new critical service line, behavioral health. And so with that, we needed to hire employees. With hiring employees, the cost of inflation with our supplies, and then the added volume, that is how we got to this situation. And why are you hearing about it just now? We had a budget where we assumed that we were getting some capital funding or some grant funding that actually did not come through. So as we started recognizing that, we recognized we had an issue, and so that's when we started this plan. I am on board, and I've also brought a financial director, healthcare financial director, who is volunteering her time so that we can start working on the financial plan. The money that we're asking for tonight will keep HealthNet working for 6 months, give us breathing space so we can then explore all of our options as we move forward.
So then, if I may, just another question. So
Sure.
Are any of the services or employees or anything, is that going to be affected now that you're seeking this additional funding even for 6 months? Are you seeing that you have to eliminate anything? And if so, are you going to bring those services back if we decide to move forward with?
You ask really good questions, thank you. So with this money, if you grant this to us tonight, we will not have to eliminate any of our services. And we're very excited to say that because again, if you talk about a free and charitable clinic, we get patients through our doors that have absolutely no insurance. They don't have anywhere else to go. Or they'll show up in a hospital ED, which is very high care, not only for them, but for the community. So we anticipate being able to keep our services as they are going through this time that we evaluate what opportunities we have to become financially sustainable.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Supervisor Rashkin.
No, it's not. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Hi, Carrie. I think this is really concerning that we're here today. I think we're looking at one paragraph explanation, and that leaves a lot of questions, a lot of that I feel, could be addressed. When you look at your services that you're currently providing, you have dental, behavioral health, and medical, right?
Correct.
Right. How many medical patients are you currently treating?
Corey, do you have, I left my numbers out in the car, can you?
Yeah, so we have 1,800 unique.
This is Corey Tucker, she's the co-interim CEO at HealthNet. Thank you, I left my numbers in the car.
Hi, we have 1,800 unique medical, and in dental we have about almost 5,000 unique.
All right.
Behavioral health is just shy of 200.
All right. And where are your dental patients? Are they all down in the facility, or?
When we built the new facility, we consolidated all of our services into that building, so they're all there. We also do a Seal a Smile program where we go out into the community school systems to actually help prevent dental problems and decay with children.
So that's actually done at schools?
It is.
So it's not at your facility?
No.
Okay. And other healthcare organizations that can be partnered with?
That's actually one of the things that we're exploring. And again, we have several options or opportunities that we just need some time that we can explore those and present to the board.
If 700,000 is your 6 months, then you're looking to procure 700,000 more and then 700,000 more, and then how is that going to work?
No, so actually we're hoping not to do that. We're hoping that through evaluating our options, coming up with a plan, still committing to making sure that we will always have to have donations, community donations and grants. But what we need is a better plan as to how we go for those avenues of financing. Once we do that, we're hoping we do not have to come back and ask for money, that we can become, our goal would be to try to be as financially sustainable as possible. But we have to understand, free and a free clinic, and we get 40 cents on the dollar from Medicaid, so we get very little actual government income coming in.
So how is that going to change?
Well, I think we have lots of opportunities that we did not explore. Moving into a new building took a lot of time, energy, and effort. And I'm not saying that anyone dropped the ball, but I'm saying that during that transition, we did not have the foresight to plan operations. So now we need to actually delve in and make sure that our operational plan meets what we can provide to the community. Does that make sense, Yuri?
It does. I just have a hard time imagining you as president of a hospital giving somebody $700,000 without a business plan.
I understand that. But again, we're asking for ARPA funding so we can keep our services going, so we can develop that plan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also, it's really important to say this, healthcare in general is struggling. Every hospital president that I talk to tells me the same thing, that it is very difficult in healthcare at this moment.
Is it related to how your funding is set up? Because is there another facility in Rock County that does similar things?
No, we are the only free and charitable clinic in Rock County.
What about community health systems?
They're a federally qualified health clinic, which is much different.
Right.
Has a different mission, and it's not that we aren't exploring that, but there's some limitations that would change the mission of HealthNet. So again, we're looking at what options do we have to stay open? Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Cullen.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Would it be viable that if we agree to do this, you'd be able to give us a 30-day update every 30 days?
We plan to do that with the memorandum of understanding with the county health board. I'd be more than happy to come here and do the same.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Supervisor Schultz?
Yes, could you tell me, thank you. How many people in the jail are you serving with dental care, and what is the charge? And what would it cost if the county could no longer participate in that, or if they had to contract with dentists?
Sure. So we see inmates 2 afternoons a month. So within that time, there's gonna be about 17 or 18 inmates. Generally, that's extractions, emergency care. We are always open to more with the nurse. If they have additional they wanna come through, that's fine. As far as what would it look like if the jail was going to contract with the dentist, dentists are about $210 an hour, roughly. So whatever that would come out with, what they would need for the care.
So it looks like we're getting probably a pretty good rate?
Yes. So we have a contract with Rock County for the inmates, and I know every year that is open for adjustment according to cost of the services.
I think it's also important to recognize, and we're seeing this in the community, Most dentists no longer take Medicaid as payment. They just don't do it. That's their prerogative. I wish I could talk them into something different. And then normally what happens when those patients from the jail or from the community have a bad tooth issue, they end up in a local emergency department. And that is the worst place for them to actually try to get care for dental pain. And so as long as I've been in the community, part of SSM, St. Mary's Janesville Hospital, and HealthNet, we recognize the importance of having the dental program at HealthNet because we could then immediately get a patient in to see a dentist at HealthNet that came in through our ER doors.
So if you weren't here, what does it cost if they have to go to the hospital? I mean, what is the...
I wish I could give you that. It just really depends. It depends on what hospital, what insurance, what, you know, I don't have those actual figures for tonight. If you'd like me to try to get those for you, I can. But it's very expensive. The highest cost of care is in an emergency department.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions? Supervisor Zorro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions. How much money do we have left in ARPA that's not allocated yet?
So all the ARPA funds have been allocated with the adoption of the budget. They were all allocated to a specific purpose. So anything else the board does, including this action, would be a reallocation. So this funding would become from the small business grant, small business nonprofit grant fund. And so as you can see outlined in the fiscal note, this would reduce the amount in that. There's about $1.5 million left in that program. So this would bring that down to about $800,000. So anything else in the future would be a reallocation from other already allocated ARPA programs.
How much money did you ask the city of Janesville to provide, and how much did they approve?
So we're actually in communication with the city of Janesville now. We don't have an actual amount at this point.
Did you ask them for any money?
Yes.
How much?
I didn't ask for a certain amount. We're in communications on how they can figure out how to help HealthNet moving forward. HealthNet, though, is a Rock County organization, and I really want everyone to recognize that Rock County, HealthNet serves Rock County. In fact, 38% of our patients come from the city of Beloit.
Did you ask Beloit for any money?
That will be next. So we will ask, I plan to ask anybody and everyone, but what we need to do is get this financing so that we can stabilize ourselves and start doing that plan.
Are there other municipalities in Rock County you're also going to ask for money?
Could possibly be, I couldn't tell you that tonight though.
For your sustainability plan, assuming you get the money from Rock County, and then sustainability going forward after that, is that going to be dependent on the other municipalities, or is there some other source other than municipalities in Rock County that you'd be getting funding from?
We'd rather be looking for other sources so that we're not continually asking municipalities, although I really do have an interest in talking to the health systems, all health systems, because the patients that we keep out of their emergency department is pretty incredible. And so there are other free insurable clinics that we studied that actually partner with their local health systems to get some funding. And so that is everything that we'll explore.
Thank you.
Supervisor Towns?
It just brought to mind a question. Are all the services you provide reimbursed by Medicaid?
All of them can be reimbursed by Medicaid if the patient has Medicaid. If the patient doesn't have Medicaid, we can do a sliding scale, but the fees are very nominal. And if the patient is above...
If they're 100% federal poverty level and below, it's a nominal charge, which basically means we can't deny them any services if they can't pay anything. So the suggestion is $10, but if they don't have $10, we still go ahead with their services.
Thanks.
Other comments, questions? Supervisor Zorro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a follow-up question on in terms of Medicaid insurance? So right now, you're serving people who don't have insurance, right?
We're just serving the underinsured and the uninsured. So we're serving patients with Medicaid and patients that have no insurance at all.
So when someone doesn't have insurance, what would be the reasons for that? In other words, they're not getting it through an employer, they're not getting it through Badger Care, they're not going out to the health marketplace. Who's left that does not have insurance?
So that can definitely be the population of Medicare, those that used to have VA benefits, those that are not able to partake in Medicare as far as there's no dental coverage in Medicare unless you have to pay that supplemental. So then they'll come to us and we'll set them up on an enrollment with a sliding fee, one flat fee for their visit, and they receive their dental services.
Do you serve any illegal immigrants?
We do have individuals that come that don't have documentation with them, and there can be many reasons for that. As far as what we're looking at is the residency within Rock County, proof of address, and something that will give us if they're working and what that would be monthly.
Do you have a way to prioritize that if we are using Rock County funding, that it's going to legal Rock County citizens?
To prioritize. No, at this time we do not.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Supervisor Rashkin?
Thank you. It's not a question, so I'm really concerned. I think that we could be back here in a few months. I think that I don't know what about Rock County that gave the impression that we give money, that we're the first place to come and ask. Like, we couldn't find $500,000 for the arena. But maybe it's because we have $700,000 for a clinic, which we need in the community. Except that there's another facility that provides similar services and will just take over if there is no health net. If anything, we could take that $700,000 and hand it over to community health systems, so they could better be prepared because they have a business plan and a better reimbursement model, which is set. So it's, I'm concerned, I guess, as a steward of taxpayers' money, of voting for this. Even though I completely support the mission of Health Net, I just feel that it appears that maybe there will be solutions, regardless of whether there is Health Net or not. But that doesn't mean that I don't support work that all the good people are doing. So that's where I'm torn, but I think those are my comments and my thoughts, and I hope that everybody else will just take a second to think that $700,000 is a lot of money. Thank you very much.
Others? Supervisor Levy?
Thank you, Board Chair. And Supervisor Raskin, I originally had the same concerns as we said. That's a lot of money, but being at Beloit and being kind of on the council and seeing them come forward with different presentations when they come for funding there and hearing all the things that they do and the people who they service, I'm inclined to say we have a greater need out there than I'm thinking some of the organizations, it could overwhelm certain organizations. So I think the more organizations we have out there that can supply assistance to people that are in need, we're going to reach more people. I think people are set at going to certain places that they feel comfortable to, but I think the more places that we have that can meet the need of not only Beloit, but all the communities in Rock County, to me, is huge. I mean, you look at the homeless population, that's huge. So when you look at the healthcare system and people who need that, I think there's a huge percentage of every county that people are in need. So I think now people are saying, where can I go to get the help that I need? And I just think the more agencies we out there to help, we can kind of help combat some of the situations that's going out there. So that's just my 2 cents.
Others?
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have talked to the community health system clinic in Beloit, and they said if we closed our doors, they would be totally overwhelmed. They are not at all prepared to take the added patients that we have. We've talked to the health systems and they say the same thing. Without I don't know how long it is for any of you to get in to see a physician. It's difficult in Rock County to find care, even when you have good insurance. So in talking to all of those, they said they would be terribly overwhelmed if we had to close our doors.
I don't have a microphone, I don't have this, I'll just, no.
Next, Supervisor Sutherland, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I'd like to remind all the supervisors of the Rock County mission statement. These are citizens, some maybe are undocumented, but there's ARPA money that's not being used that's been allocated. Here's a use. Let's think about it. Again, these people didn't ask for this, and they need some help. Thank you.
Supervisor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to say I'm a huge supporter of HealthNet. I go to the fundraising events. I even participate in the auctions, which has gotten me in a bit of trouble at the events. Get a little carried away. So I am a huge supporter of HealthNet. With that said, I am also concerned, like Supervisor Ashkin as well, because this is like the second major nonprofit in our community that's had a change of leadership that's now asking us for money. Because they're now having financial problems. So I am going to support this. So I've been sitting here listening because I kind of know a little bit about the background of what's been happening. So I've been just kind of sitting listening, and I am going to support this. My question is, when you're doing your reporting back to us, I would kind of like to see what the succession plan is.
Happy to do that.
With your new president, CEO, how that's going to work, because a lot of us know in the nonprofit world that funders give money to the president, the CEO, and executive director, not necessarily to the organization,
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
So I would be happy to, at this point, we're not ready to move forward to fill that position because we want to be very frugal and respectful with the money that we have. So we have great leadership in Corey and Kristen, who have been our co-interim CEOs, and the board felt very comfortable with me stepping in the role that I am, that we do have adequate, I'll say adequate, because I don't want to speak highly of myself, but leadership. And I have no problem going out to the community and asking for money. Right. And the good news is I have a lot of good people in Janesville and Rock County who are willing to listen when I go out to do that. So.
Right. I'm just wondering, like, how will you ramp up on the development side?
So we're currently now hiring for a development director.
Okay.
And part of what that person needs to do is be out in the community, and actually, it's good to have our gala. I love our gala, and I, like you, get into a lot of trouble every time I'm there. The last 2 years I've chaired the gala, and I'm up there begging for money and spending it like crazy. But we need a development director that's able to go out in the community, establish relationships along with the CEO.
Right.
So you have two people that are out instead of just one.
Exactly. So that was one of the things I wanted to ask, is wanting to see that as a part of the report of what is the plan as far as development and not leaving that all in the hands of the president and CEO. Because once that person has developed a relationship with the people who give money and they're gone, then it's like, well, I'm used to giving money to this person, not necessarily the organization, because that's the person I've built a relationship with. And
so I'll have to tell you that was a good lesson learned. And we also have tremendous leadership and support from the board, and we should be using our board members also. So the more that we can incorporate the talented people that we have working in fundraising, the better we will be. It can't just be one individual that does that for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Others, Supervisor Peer.
I want to thank you once again for coming and appear. I know it's not easy to be in a situation, excuse me, that you are. I think special times, special situations require special effort. It would be really nice if we could ask just the right questions and they would have just the right answers, and we'd all feel justified in whatever decision we make. Unfortunately, these times just aren't that way. You think about the things that are happening in your own families in cities across America, it truly is a special time, especially for those who are in need. I really appreciate Supervisor Sutherland's comment about what is our mission statement. What does it say about us when we have a population that is really in need, and we may hesitate or even not take the opportunity to join into that? What does it say about us? And I'm not putting down or negating in any way comments that were made that we really need to have attached to this responsibility. I suspect if we could jump in your minds, you're sorry for some of the things that happened in the past, the accountability that could have been there that maybe wasn't done in quite the right way, but sometimes that's how we learn from things that go awry. So again, I really appreciate you coming and doing this, and I just, I hope the board really steps up here and supports this. I think it's a golden opportunity. We have no guarantees, that's for sure, but here's a golden opportunity to do something great and show that we're different. Thank you.
Supervisor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share many of the concerns that Supervisor Rashkin raised and some others have raised, but I'm going to support this for one basic reason. That is that there are some very, very bad things that happen if we don't support this. In many cases, we're allocating money in the hope that good services will be provided. In spending these dollars, we know that for the next 6 months, very important services will be provided. Thank you.
Others? Others? Seeing none, this is roll call.
Old school.
Okay.
Old school
So
roll
I'm just
call.
gonna randomly call names and then jot down, how you voted. Okay. Bob Zine?
I vote for. Aye.
Stevens?
Aye.
Towns?
Aye.
Peer?
Aye.
Pennycook?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Woodman?
Aye.
Cullen?
Aye.
Holman?
Aye.
Whitledge?
Aye.
Rashkin?
Nay.
Bryan?
Yes.
Tillman?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Schneider?
Aye.
Sweeney?
Aye.
Zorro?
Yes.
Beaver?
Aye.
Winter? Bostwick.
Aye.
We have 23 yes, 1 no, 5 absent.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item.
Next item is 11B. Contracts, 11B1. Authorizing contract for pretrial and criminogenic risk assessment and monitoring services.
Moved by Supervisor Beaver, seconded by Supervisor Schneider. Supervisor Beaver?
I'm handing it off to Josh.
Thank you. I won't read the executive summary, but essentially this is the program that the county's participated in for 5 years now through the Evidence-Based Decision-Making Initiative and the EBDM Policy Team Committee, which is made up of justice system stakeholders. So the pretrial and risk assessment process we have includes a contract with Justice Point, and this resolution would sort of re-up with Justice Point for another 5-year term, 3 years in the contract and two additional years. What Justice Point does is they conduct an assessment with individuals coming to the justice system to determine their risk level, which is based both on their likelihood to appear in court and their likelihood to conduct additional criminal activities while they're out. This information is scored using a tool called the Public Safety Assessment, which is a nationally validated tool. That information is provided to the judges or the court commissioners, who then use that information and independently decide, based on other factors as well, whether or not to release the individual on pretrial release, including potentially being on a GPS or an alcohol monitoring bracelet. So this would continue this work for another term. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Supervisor Keller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First question is, what's criminogenic mean?
Criminogenic is a fancy bureaucratic term that means criminal. So what are their risk factors, or their criminality risk factors?
Thank you. We get any data to show what they've done in the past and any results they've had? Because they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, so I don't have copies to pass out. Something I did share with the Public Safety and Justice Committee. For example, just some data on appearances. So currently, we have a total of 178 active clients on pretrial release in the county. In 2020, let me see if I get the right numbers here, in which year they're in. Let's see. So average days of supervision. So individuals that are on pretrial release this year have been on supervision for about 260 days. Overall, when these individuals are in the community versus in the jail, which is the alternative, that saves us money by not having them in the jail. So in 2022, we saved over 50,000 jail bed days by having these folks in the community. In 2023 so far, it's around 40,000. From a safety perspective, about 90% of these individuals show up to court. And then about a little over 80% in 2023 do not have any other charges while they're out on supervision. And again, these are individuals who are considered low risk. So if not a safety risk, large safety risk to the community. So what we usually point to is about as far as like savings go, is jail bed days saved. There is an effort going on to evaluate recidivism. Sort of, has this program resulted in reduction in crime, so to speak, for the individuals in the program. But that is certainly a longer-term effort.
And you're using the measure jail bed days, correct?
Yes, yeah, so jail bed days, jail days, essentially every day they're not in jail.
Can you equate that to a dollar amount?
Yeah, Supervisor Tillman probably can remember better than I can.
$55 a day.
$55 a day is sort of the average that we use on dollars saved for every jail day.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, this is roll call. Jamie will call, please.
All right, Sweeney?
Yes.
Tillman?
Yes.
Holman?
Yes.
Rashkin?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Peer?
Yes.
Winter? Davis?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Maloney?
Yes.
Woodman?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Towns?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Levy?
Aye.
Cullen?
Yes.
Whitledge?
Yes.
Pennycook?
Aye.
Stevens?
Aye.
Zorro?
Yes.
Beaver?
Aye.
Bob Zine?
Aye.
And Boswick.
Aye.
So that's 0 no, 5 absent, and then 24 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is 11B2, approving broadband ARPA repayment agreement.
Moved by Supervisor Winter, seconded by Supervisor Sweeney. Randy?
So this is part of the broadband project that was originally laid out in last summer. And as part of that, Tussle Wireless agreed that to the extent that we were going to allocate $3.6 million in ARPA money, that they would repay it over a term. And that those terms were discussed at the Broadband Committee meeting back in September of last year. And is agreed to the same or similar terms as the Fond du Lac County bonding proposal, which is for a 30-year period at 5.6% interest. It took a while for us to get to today, but we finally got here, and so here again, this is all part of a Vitomile cell tower project from providing broadband to really get us to a level that when the BEAD money gets allocated, we'll be in a better position to be awarded BEAD money because we have the infrastructure would be laid in. There are two minor things that what was in the packet just needs to point out, and I'll turn it over to Rich Green, our Corporation Counsel, to.
Yeah, so at the time that the packet was published, we didn't quite have the final agreement back. They're really very minor changes. So first is in the preamble, moving the closing date just to January instead of December, just to reflect speed up against the holidays and the likelihood that we probably would be closing in December. And then on page 1 as well, the commitment period, which is the period that Bug Tussle has to expend the dollars, was reduced to a 2-year window instead of a 3-year window. And that's simply to reflect that Bug Tussle had stated they would be likely to complete the work at the outside boundary in 18 months. And because they're ARPA dollars, there's some utility in not pushing that all the way to 2026, so that if something were to happen, we would have a little bit of lead time to figure out how to expend those dollars instead of them going back to the federal government.
Also want to point out that Bug Tussle Representative legal counsel Mike Long is in the audience in case we had any questions of the Buck Tussle perspective.
Comments or questions? Supervisor Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions, probably for court counsel. Or Josh maybe could answer this too. On money that we get from ARPA, we're making interest on it. That's not an arbitrage problem, is it?
It's not. So they are defederalized dollars once they come back to us. Now, what the committee and the structure that's been set up is said internally, our internal controls are going to allocate those dollars for broadband projects only. So they would be earmarked for broadband, but that's an internal policy, not an external.
Thank you. My second question is, without getting too much into the weeds, I tried to read section 8, which is on the default and our rights in default. 30 years is a long time. If there is a default, can you briefly tell me how we reclaim?
So yeah, and maybe Mike can handle some of this as well. We're pulling out a leasehold mortgage on the facilities that are constructed with the dollars. So our security interest will be in the infrastructure created. So we could own the infrastructure and operate it, we could own it and auction it, but that would be essentially how we make revenue off those facilities.
Okay, so we're saying in this that we will not sue for the remainder or anything like that?
Well, if there is a default, the most likely situation is that Buck Tussle and its parent companies are in bankruptcy. And so we would follow basically we'd be a secured creditor in those instances, and we'd have certain rights on assets within the bankruptcy estate. And as the going concern is reorganized, we could end up being a equity holder in Buck Tussle at some point if that is in fact what happens. But there'll be a number of remedies considered at that point. So it's a little hard to say, if there's a default of Buck Tussle and insolvency, it's going to be a mess.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Supervisor Davis.
Thank you. I was concerned at a rumor I heard that the service would not be uniform throughout the whole county. I was in particular interested in the northwest portion of the county. Is that the case or not?
Could you just say that again, Supervisor Davis?
I was curious about service. Would that be uniform throughout the whole county? I had heard in the northwest portion of the county they would not receive services.
Okay, so our original proposal was about $16.5 million, and that included a $2 million Public Service Commission grant. It was discovered that after the notification was given, that the PSC staff went back and looked at the grant application, found out a checkbox wasn't made, basically. So that $2 million was withdrawn. So we are looking at other sources of funds to come up with that basically northwest part of the county of the middle mile fiber ring. And we've updated, we've kept the broadband committee updated on what our status is. Our first priority is to get this ARPA repayment agreement set in stone, and then we can go after some other sources of money, including other broadband monies unrelated to BEAD.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Supervisor Zorro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with regards to how we filled the $2 million hole on the PSC grant, you say a box was not checked. Whose job was it to check the box, and is it as simple as just going back and checking a box?
So the box, the term I used was box. one of the criteria in the application itself was to identify the amount of unserved and or underserved populations that the grant was going to be addressing. And they used the wrong term and the wrong number in that box. And with that, it raised the ineligibility criteria for the application lower, therefore it didn't meet the minimum allocation for the staff review at the state level.
And whose responsibility was that?
It was Buck Tussle Wireless.
Has Buck Tussle explained how they're going to come up with the $2 million?
So I guess, well, from the county's perspective, it's a grant process. So to the extent that the grant wasn't awarded, that's part of the grant application process. So.
And I think over time, the goals of the company are to have a uniform network countywide. I think these networks are typically built in phases, and you see, like for instance, the project right now is has been funded with the sale of the bonds. That's underway. That's a series of towers and middle mile fiber. I think the funding that we're seeking with this ARPA loan will go towards more fiber, and certainly I think a few more towers as well. I think over time what you will see is the entire county having decent broadband service as a result of the loan as well as the bond. And I think that the company is constantly on the lookout for additional grants, as well as the BEAD money that's out there too, that's coming down the pike. So I think that there will be, and I think that it's the company's goal is to have adequate service throughout the county, and they're going to continue looking for money.
So is it fair to say that as of today, you have no idea where the $2 million is coming from?
I can tell you that, I would tell you that I don't know if we have the 2 million, but I know they're looking for additional funding to do other things in this county as well as others, so, but I don't know.
If Buck Tussle did not properly fill out the grant application, why should Rock County trust Buck Tussle to complete this project?
Well, I would tell you that Buck Tussle has a decent track record in doing similar projects throughout the state. They've done one in Adams County, they've done one in Fond du Lac County, they're well underway on the 17 counties or 18 counties that have participated in the last bond issuances. And so I can tell you that the county should feel secure in that Buck Tussle has a decent track record, an excellent track record actually, in completing these municipal projects on time. And to the satisfaction of all the people involved.
Does Buck Tussle have a track record of missing PSC grants in other counties in Wisconsin as well?
That I don't know.
I can answer that. I can answer the fact that when the state informed us that we weren't being awarded this money anymore, there were approximately 5 or 6 other county applications that Buck Tussle applied for that also got their state funding withdrawn. So we're not the only county that was put in this position. The other counties that had Buck Tussle applications had the same kind of issue with them.
So would it be fair to say that Buck Tussle not only has a problem in Rock County, but also multiple other counties all at once?
I think it's fair to say that the other counties are continuing with Buck Tussle relationship in order to finish out the project. And as I updated the ad hoc committee yesterday, they're within 6 weeks of the eastern leg of the middle mile fiber of activating it and hooking up customers.
If we were to move forward with this ARPA loan, Are there milestones that need to be hit? In other words, we release the money over time, or do we just write them a check and hope the project gets done?
So this would be similar to the Fond du Lac bonding proposal. We keep track, they make a draw of whatever the supplier or work that's requested. It's reviewed. The county administrator job signs off on it, it's sent back to them, and we keep a running track of where we're at. Right now, year to date, we're at 42% of that $10.9 million Fond du Lac bonding being spent right now. And a similar thing would occur with the ARPA money as far as the drawdown process.
So if we're at 42% of the money that we've already guaranteed the debt, why wouldn't we just keep drawing that money down, and then when we hit 100%, and then at that point, approve the ARPA loan? Because right now, it sounds like they don't need any additional money if they're still drawing down that first loan.
Yeah, here again, I think, depending on how their ordering process and supply chain is working, they anticipate utilizing that ARPA money soon. And so I think we're gonna start to see some larger amounts of drawdown on the Fond du Lac bonding, such that I wouldn't wanna come back or hold up necessarily whatever's middle mile and or cell tower construction that needs to be done if we have the money lined up. And it's just a matter of if we are the agreement, which here again, we're a year roughly from when we started the process for the ARPA repayment agreement. Once we nail down the Fond du Lac bonding agreement, our next goal was to get the ARPA repayment agreement. It's taken us this long to get that. I'd rather get that settled so that we can go out and get some other grant money investigation and try to cover that northwest part of the county.
How long do you think it'll take in that grant investigation to figure out where the $2 million is coming from?
I can't promise you anything, but I mean, we're seriously looking at different things.
I really think we need to figure out where this $2 million is coming from before we start throwing more money at it. So I moved to table for 6 months.
We have a motion to table the item for 6 months. Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Continued discussion. Supervisor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to point out what this vote is about. This vote is not about giving Bug Tussle more money. It's about accepting money from Bug Tussle. It's the repayment schedule that is the matter of concern here. And it's to our best, it's best for us to start that flow of dollars coming back to Rock County because we're going to be able to reinvest that money eventually. It also is to our advantage to have as much built as quickly as it can because there is a lot of federal money that has been given to the state of Wisconsin that will have an opportunity to get through the BEAD grant. And we're in better position to apply for that and to bid on the areas that are put out in the BEAD process if in fact more is built. Thank you.
Supervisor Peer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to thank both you gentlemen for bringing clarity to the issues at hand. And I'd like to call the question.
The question has been called to end debate, seconded by Supervisor Stevens. This will be roll call.
Voice vote, if you can determine you have 2/3.
Okay, we can do this by voice vote if we can determine a 2/3 majority. To end debate, you'll vote yes. To continue with debate, you'll vote no. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, the question has been called. We'll go to the regular motion. Jamie, if you'd read that again for us before we vote.
So the item is 11B2, approving broadband ARPA repayment agreement.
This will be roll call. Jamie will call again.
Tillman?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Knutson? Or, Knutson's absent. Maloney?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Woodman?
Yes.
Bob Zine?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Schultz?
Yes.
Sweeney?
Yes.
Rashkin?
Yes.
Holman?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Stevens?
Aye.
Whitledge?
Yes.
Zorl?
No.
Pier?
Aye.
Towns?
Aye.
Beaver?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Pennycook? Cullen?
Yes.
Winter?
Yes.
So we have 23 yes.
Hold it, I didn't get the vote.
Oh, Bostwick.
Yes.
All right, 23 yes, 1 no, 5 absent.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 11B4, 11B3, awarding contract for catering services for Rock County Aging Unit Nutrition Program.
Moved by Supervisor Stevens, seconded by Supervisor Tillman. Josh? Okay, Supervisor Woodman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This contract is for the Rock County Aging Unit Nutrition Program. It serves approximately 65,000 meals annually. This was sent out to a number of different services to look for a contract provider. Can-Do gave us the winning bid. I believe it was the only bid, but they have been our provider in the past. If there are any questions, Corey Marsh is here tonight, and she can answer those.
Are there any questions or comments? Comments, questions? Seeing none, this is roll call. Jamie?
Levy?
Aye.
Cullen?
Yes.
Pennycook? Tillman?
Yes.
Zorl?
Yes.
Pier?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Woodman?
Yes.
Winter? Bob Zine?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Towns?
Yes.
Sweeney?
Yes.
Holman?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Whitledge?
Yes.
Stevens?
Aye.
Schultz?
Yes.
Rashkin?
Yes.
Beaver?
Aye.
Maloney?
Yes.
And Bostwick.
Yes.
24 yes, 5 absent.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 11B4, approving 2024 Human Services Department provider contracts.
Moved by Supervisor Woodman, seconded by Supervisor Davis. Supervisor Woodman.
Mr. Chair, at this time, I'll turn this over to Greg Winkler and Sarah Warren to explain it a little better. And this is all the contracts for this year.
I'm Sarah Moore, and I'm the Administrative Services Division Manager for the Human Services Department. Per the purchasing ordinance language, any contracts that we have in the Human Services Department for consumer services over $200,000 require county board approval. So this is our list for 2024. As you can see, it's a wide variety of the different programs that we're providing services. In some cases, we're trying to develop a pool of providers so that clients have choice. In other cases, we're providing contracting out a full service. All of the funds are included in our 2024 adopted budget, and all of these providers are providers that we worked with in the past.
Questions, comments? This is roll call. Jamie?
Towns?
Yes.
Stevens?
Abstain. I'm abstaining because one particular service provider on here who I have a personal contentious relationship with. I have to abstain.
Whitledge?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Woodfin?
Yes.
Winter? Mooney?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Zorro?
Yes.
Sweeney?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Pennycook? Wilson?
Yes.
Cullen?
Yes.
Peer?
Aye.
Rashkin?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Levy?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Tillman?
Yes.
Beaver?
Aye.
Bob Zine?
Aye.
Holman?
Yes.
And Bostwick?
Yes.
$23 yes, 1 abstain, 5 absent.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 11C, amending Chapter 5 of the Rock County Court of Ordinance, Parks, second reading.
Moved by Supervisor Mulqueeney, seconded by Supervisor Woodman. Supervisor Mulqueeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to call on John. He sat here for the whole meeting, so let's get to work.
I gotta be 100% honest with you, the chairs are not nearly as comfortable as they look. So, long and short, I'll kind of just breeze through some of the changes we made. First and foremost, you'll notice throughout the entire kind of document that my title changed in the wage study. I'm now the Park Services Supervisor. It's a mouthful. I wanted to get Park Czar, but they said no. So I stuck with Park Services Supervisor. If you go to page 2, letter G, we added some verbiage in there about e-bikes, scooters, and other vehicles that be restricted on our trails. We're starting to see a lot more e-bikes in that. There's so many different classifications to e-bikes and different models and whatnot. We didn't want to specify, but it's common that a lot of these different governmental bodies that have jurisdiction over trails and that are limiting them to 15 miles an hour. That way it kind of eases the enforcement aspect a little bit. Talking to some of the bicycling community and whatnot, they're okay with the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. You do get your more advanced cyclists and that to go well over 15, but they figure that 15 is a safe avenue for that, and they feel that they were okay with the verbiage. Checking with Rock Trail Coalition and a few others that we deal with. Letter H in that same paragraph, or in that same page, no person shall operate a remote controlled vehicle within park boundaries. We've been having some instances in the past with RC cars, stuff like that. They are pretty disruptive in our park setting, especially we've had some instances up in Magnolia Bluff, especially with the equestrian and the horses and that around the RC cars spook the horses. So we put that provision in there. Page 3, on number 10, we added just basically some clarification that a permit is required to have a fire in any of our designated fire rings. Because we do, especially with the new Rock River Heritage Park, there are a few fire rings out there. We also have one at Gibbs Lake, one at Meg Bluff, with the new pavilion and stuff like that. So we just wanted to make sure that we were covering our bases when it comes to the provision there. Down here, I think it's on the 4th page, number 16, the intoxicants prohibited. At the beginning of the meeting, we removed that, I believe it was letter 5B, because this was already read at the last meeting. Long and short, DPW used to oversee all the alcohol permitting for basically the county, including the fairgrounds, the airport, and obviously all of our rental pavilions, stuff like that. Once the airport pulled away and became their own department a couple years ago, we felt it was no longer necessary for the Rock County DPW board to oversee, but more it should be the oversight of the airport board. So that's why that change is coming in here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but basically the reason the fairground stuff is still in here is because there's really no other place for it within the ordinances of Rock County. So you'll still find that verbiage in number 16. Then you'll go to the next page, letter I, no person may operate an unmanned aerial vehicle. This is our new verbiage on drones. We have been having some problems with drones. People following other people down the trail. We had a gentleman a couple of years ago that set up at Gibbs Lake in the horse lot and decided to fly over the beach when a whole bunch of young girls were swimming a couple of years ago. So we're putting a stop to that. Now we have some teeth to bite in the enforcement aspect of keeping these people honest and not indoor parks. That being said, we do have a phrase in there that it can be permitted by myself. That being said, we do allow our sheriff's department to do drone training. They've done that in our parks. We have also allowed some individuals to come in and take overhead pictures of our parks, which are extremely helpful for us for promoting our parks and getting pictures of that out there, especially fall colors and that sort of stuff. So that is why that verbiage is in there. Letter J, no person shall operate or drive a motorized or non-motorized bicycle on a path or trail within a park except on trails designated for bike travel. That being said, we have our Glacier River Trail, our Peace Trail, our other trails that are designated bike trails. What we don't want to see is people running their dirt bikes or their off-road bicycles in like Gibbs Lake around the horses, Magnolia Bluff on the sandstone where they do a lot of damage, believe it or not, to our trail system that are not designed for trail usage. Number 18, just kind of, we changed up the verbiage a little bit for our wood cutting permit, and added a permit is required for anyone to cut and remove wood from any county park. That was just a little bit of a clarification, and I think that is it. Are there any questions?
Questions? Supervisor Zorro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard, first of all, thank you for putting line numbers on this. That's helpful. Page 99 of 109, line numbers 60 and 61H, no person shall operate a remote controlled vehicle within park boundaries. You said that you had trouble with horses in Magnolia Bluff. Is that only that park, or do you have problems in other parks?
We have had complaints in a lot of the parks where people are running RC cars because they are very, how the best way to put it would be, they're disruptive to the nature of our park system. You get a couple people that are out there, we've had them on the Heritage Park, where there's no people out there that are riding horses or any equestrian traffic like that, but people that are out trying to enjoy the park setting, and all you hear is this hum and screech of these RC cars. So we have had multiple complaints over the 5 years I've sat in this position.
On page 102 of 109, at the top, lines 243 through 247, talked about the drones. If the drone is greater than 50 foot in the air and it's now in federal airspace, how are you supposed to enforce that?
So basically what this here is doing is we can actually get it added to the no-fly zone. by designating it not permitted or not allowed. So the federal aviation still covers, obviously, airspace, but we're not allowing people to fly them over or fly them from our parks. It gives us some sort of enforcement at least, other than people, yeah, you're right, you're gonna have that gentleman that might sit off property and fly them over the top. What's the chance of us trying to control that? I can't. But at least if they're flying from our parks and that, at least we have some sort of enforcement aspect. Does that make sense? Kind of gives us a mode of going afterward before we didn't have anything.
The last part in line 247, it says without the written consent of the supervisor. Is there a written policy that shows when the supervisor is supposed to give consent or not? Or is it totally at the discretion? So the supervisor can have a friend and his friend says, I'd like to do this, will you give me consent? And he says yes, and then he's not very friendly with somebody else and says no. In other words, how do you make it fair?
Well, that is to me doing my due diligence. There is no guidelines at this point in time set in stone of who shall or who shall not. It is up to the discretion of the supervisor at this point in time.
I think we should be a nation of laws and not a nation of people. I do have a problem with saying that one individual should be able to decide if any particular person is breaking the law or not based on saying, yes, I'm going to give that person consent, but not this person over here, especially when there's not a written policy. I think that's a really big problem. Additionally, I happen to own a drone, and I can tell you that parks are some of the best places to fly a drone. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Usually it's because a park is a nice open spot. You don't always have, a dense population, and drones aren't going away. So if we were to ban drones from county parks, all you're doing is you're sending them somewhere else. Where do you think you're sending them to? Residential neighborhoods. We talk about, we don't want a drone flying over the beach. I mean, it's public property. Other people can be on a beach with a camera, or just their eyes are looking. But now what we're doing is we're talking about taking these drones, and you got someone sunbathing in their backyard. Now, as long as that drone's 50 feet above the backyard, that's where you're going to send them to. Let's say you have a kid Christmas morning gets a drone, 12, 15 years old, doesn't know how to fly it. Where do you want him learning how to fly this drone in practice? You want to go out to obviously you got to have some sense of personal responsibility. You don't want to do it dangerous. But you want him to go to a park where you have a nice open spot and nobody's in the way. Or you want him flying around in your neighborhood and coming through your living room window. Brock County doesn't have the authority to ban drones. We can try and ban them from the park, but all you're doing is sending them somewhere else. You want people flying drones over public roadways? That's another spot you could send them. How'd you like to have an out-of-control drone land in your windshield in your car? Now you can't see where you're going, crash, maybe somebody dies. I mean, I can see how drones could be a nuisance in the park, but I think you're creating an even worse problem by pushing it somewhere else, because once you take away the parks, you're now talking about they're going to be in residential neighborhoods. And then you've got a ban here on skydiving. Well, that's great. So here you are, you're skydiving and the wind blows one way. And do you want to land in the middle of the lake? Or, you see a nice open spot in a park somewhere. Oh, hold on, let me get on my phone. I got to call the supervisor to see if I have consent. You think that's really going to happen? No. I don't think this is the way to go. At least not with Section I. So I move to amend this by eliminating lines 243, 244, 245, 246, and 247.
We have a motion to make an amendment that would be to eliminate lines 243 through 247. Is there a second? Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion fails. Additional discussion? Seeing none, this is voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Next item, please.
Thank you.
Next item is item 11E, reauthorization of self-insurance.
Moved by Supervisor Mahoney, seconded by Supervisor Peer. Supervisor Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rock County's been self-insured for workers' comp for many years. Part of the requirement is that by Wisconsin Administrative Code, the county is required every 3 years to notify the Department of Workforce Development of the intent to continue. This resolution takes care of that.
Comments, questions? Comments, questions? Seeing none, voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is item 12, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Whitledge, seconded by Supervisor Bryan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?